Sort of conspiracy theorizing that's become incredibly popular on the right these days. It was popular on the left, and now it's become increasingly popular on the right. The kind of, let's just ask questions. We'll ask, who really killed JFK? Wink, wink, nod, nod. And then you're like, well, do you have any evidence of the thing that you are presupposing? Well, no, I'm not making any accusations. I just know I don't believe the story that I'm being told. I know not to trust the authorities. Like, well, that's fine, but do you have like any evidence? Like evidence, not just supposition. I said, well, you're part of it, aren't you? Yes, you're part of it. The reason that you're so defensive about all this is, I don't care who killed JFK. I mean, I do, because it's really interesting. But I noticed that the calendar says 2025, and he was killed in 1963. And so my opinion about who killed JFK has about as much relevance as who killed William McKinley, or James Garfield, which is to say, not an enormous amount.
Okay, listen. All these pesky conspiracy theorists looking into the JFK files, like, oh, I'm just asking questions. I mean, I just have some questions about the JFK files. I mean, who just asked questions? I mean, first it was the left, now it's the right. I mean, it's just ridiculous. All these questions being asked about the JFK files. I mean, come on. I mean, just like focus on like the wars that I'm trying to start. I mean, please, come on. I did a little short reaction to this, but I really wanted to do a deep dive breakdown into everything he said because I thought it was comedic. I know it's not supposed to be funny, but I thought it was hilarious. And it's just so ridiculously deceptive and sneaky. It deserves a full breakdown. And maybe the Trump administration should pass some new anti-Semitism laws to say that it's illegal to say that Ben Shapiro is sneaky, because of course he's not. He's just always telling the truth, except when he was wrong about COVID and said he got lied to by the government and Pfizer, as if he wasn't supposed to know that Pfizer and the government could possibly lie about anything. Let's get into the full breakdown. I'm excited for this.
Sort of conspiracy theorizing that's become incredibly popular on the right these days. It was popular on...
All right, let's just start with that. He starts off with mocking and scoffing at the fact that conspiracy theorizing is becoming popular on the right. See, this tricks a lot of people when you talk about Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson or other people that may be more controversial, but it doesn't work when you're talking about the JFK files. First of all, I've never been able to look this up and confirm it, but many people say that the term conspiracy theory was made popular by the government trying to stop people originally from looking into the JFK assassination. So I feel like Ben's blowing his cover a little bit here. Me personally, I think it's ridiculous to ever call anybody a conspiracy theorist because, of course, yeah, there are some people with false conspiracies, but if your best way to shut down a conspiracy theory is by calling someone a conspiracy theorist, you might as well work for mainstream media. That's what they do with literally every topic. So there's a lot of theories I disagree with. I'll tell you why I disagree with it and show proof, not just scoff at somebody being a conspiracy theorist. So the gall and hubris of Ben Shapiro to start off this video by being like, oh, these conspiracy theorists on the right. I feel like the audience who's going to believe him on this is way less than his normal audience. Let's keep listening.
Sort of conspiracy theorizing that's become incredibly popular on the right these days. It was popular on the left, and now it's become increasingly popular on the right.
Okay, we got to stop it again. He's essentially trying to frame it as this used to be a left-wing conspiracy theory. Now it's a right-wing conspiracy theory. I mean, what's going on, folks? First of all, when this first came out, maybe he's right. Maybe right-wingers completely hook, line, and sinker bought whatever the government told them. But I felt like this was an American conspiracy theory. JFK literally got killed in his car in public, and literally everyone in the country was like, what the heck just happened? Who killed JFK? Why? So once again, deceptive Ben is like, oh, this used to be the left doing this. I can't believe the right's doing this now. Really? My question is, who believes this guy? Who listens to this guy and is like, yeah, this is where I get my trustworthy news. I mean, these darn conspiracy theorists on the right asking all these questions about JFK. It used to be the left. What? Let's keep listening.
And now it's become increasingly popular on the right. The kind of, let's just ask questions. We'll ask, who really killed JFK? Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Wink, wink, nod, nod. That's usually how I try to get a date, you know? I just show up in public at a bar, you know? Even if the chicks are disgusting or old or whatever, I don't care. I'm there. Wink, wink, nod, nod, whatever I could. No, I'm just joking. That's a joke. Please don't hold that against me if I ever run for office. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to run for office. I'm sure there's way worse things I said that they would use against me if I ever did. But, you know, that is my usual pickup line. I look straight at a chick. I make eye contact for like 5 minutes straight. I don't blink because I heard that they're into that. And then I just wink, wink, nod, nod. And usually they walk out the door, and I don't understand it. I mean, I watched 50,000 tutorial videos on YouTube how to hit on chicks. I don't get why it's not working for me. Hello? Can someone... Jokes aside, he brings up this just asking questions. Like I said, he used it to frame and smear right-wingers like, oh, they're just asking questions. They don't want to say what they really mean. They just want to ask these questions.
I think that the vast majority of people who are in the just asking questions business have an answer that they want to suggest, but they know there's no evidence for it. So instead, they hide behind just asking questions. In other words, they're completely full of shit.
First of all, I think a lot of people are afraid of censorship, so they just ask questions because if you actually say certain things, you're framed by the left and the right as a hater and you're hateful, and they never can actually debunk your argument. They just say you're hateful and try to shut you down. But also, of all people who should be asking questions, it's Ben Shapiro, who wasn't asking questions during the COVID lockdown. He was desperate to get young people and minorities to get the COVID vaccine. He literally tweeted one time that he thought Joe Biden should have been telling people that if they get the vaccine, we can go back to normal. Here's the full tweet. Benny Boy said, "Vaccine demand is dropping, particularly among young and among minorities. To reverse this, we should tell people they could go back to normal if they get vaccinated. This is precisely what Biden refuses to do because continuing COVID panic is his lever for change." Fake opposition's like, Joe Biden's not telling people enough to go get it. I mean, that's what he really should be doing, is telling people you can go back to normal if you get the vaccine. First of all, isn't that what Democrats were telling everybody? Weren't they doing it too much? I mean, to Ben's credit, he was against the COVID vaccine mandate, but this is the guy that's telling you don't ask questions, and it's just so nefarious to ask questions. Watch this clip.
But we now know that we were lied to by everyone. We were lied to by the scientists. We were lied to by Pfizer. We were lied to by the government. We were lied to by the Biden administration. We were lied to. I don't like being lied to. I don't know about you. And it makes me not believe these people.
We got lied to. I mean, we got lied to by Pfizer. We got lied to by the government. It's your job as a news host to know that Pfizer and the government lies. Not only do you pretend like you don't know that, I mean, I know Ben does, unless he really is as dumb as he pretends to be. I mean, most of the time he's pretending to be super smart because he mumbles and talks really fast. My IQ's really high. So high that you just didn't know that the government and Pfizer could possibly lie. But then to extend this to the JFK files and try to frame it as if people are doing too much on the right by just asking questions about the JFK files when Donald Trump just dropped tens of thousands of documents, it's all really strange, but hilarious. Thank you, Ben Shapiro, for my favorite comedy video of the week. Let's keep watching. Isn't this fun? I'm having fun.
Ask questions. Well, ask who really killed JFK? Wink, wink, nod, nod. And then you're like, well, do you have any evidence of the thing that you are presupposing? Well, no, I'm not making any accusations. I just know I don't believe the story that I'm being told.
All right, on that note, do you have any evidence of who really killed JFK? Because they said that Lee Harvey Oswald did. Well, here's some evidence that Ben Shapiro probably doesn't want to hear, but it's out there. It's been posted in numerous articles over the last couple of years, and someone even published it this week, a Jewish publication called The Forward. Let's read. Here's The Forward with their article, "The Secret Jewish History of the JFK Assassination. Jack Ruby was once Jacob Rubinstein." You would think this is a far-right conspiracy theory or a smear attack, but no, this is a pro-Jewish, literally Jewish organization that just wanted to publish this article again this week. I've read it in their publication before, but I guess because the JFK files came out, they revisited this. Let's read the article. So according to the article, Judaism was important to the Rubinstein family. They kept a kosher home, observed the holidays, and sent their boys to Hebrew school. I believe his rabbi, who was pretty well known apparently, Mr. Silverstein, Jack Ruby's rabbi, apparently said this. "I was shocked," said Silverman. "I visited him the next day in jail and I said, 'Jack, why?' He said, 'I did it for the American people.'" According to contemporaneous reports, after shooting Oswald, Ruby allegedly said he did it to show that Jews had guts. Silverman, recalling that line, sighed. "I think he said, 'I did it for the Jewish people, but I've tried to wipe that statement from my mind.'" Does that mean anything? I'm not saying that it does, but I bet you that if this shooter's name was Jacob al-Wahabi, and he was from Iran, and he said, "I did it for the Iranian people," and that's what his imam said to the American public, that, "Sigh, I tried to erase that from my memory," I bet that Ben Shapiro would be a little bit more interested in Jack Ruby, who was the person who killed the shooter who allegedly killed JFK, which is one of the only bits of evidence that we have. I haven't gone through all the JFK files. I'm being very patient on it, but this has been in the press for years. It's a pretty big clue, at least, to a possible motive. Not saying it's definite, but when Ben Shapiro scoffs at conspiracy theorists on the right who are just asking questions, he's relying on his audience to be so brainwashed by false opposition media like himself into thinking that there isn't any evidence or proof and everyone's just being hateful and crazy. But in reality, there's a lot of stuff that Ben doesn't seem to be that interested in looking into.
I know not to trust the authorities. Like, well, that's fine, but do you have like any evidence? Like evidence, not just supposition. I said, well, you're part of it, aren't you? You're part of it. The reason that you're so defensive about all this is, I don't care who killed JFK. I mean, I do, because it's really interesting.
I mean, he is being really defensive, which is weird because I don't think off the cuff anyone's really thinking about Ben Shapiro when it comes to a situation that happened before Ben Shapiro was born. So I don't get why he even made this video, to be honest. It's like he is acting defensive, and then he's like, people notice that I'm acting defensive. Yeah, it's a little bit weird, bro. It's like what James Lindsay said with the Epstein files. I'm going to find his tweet real quick because it's just fascinating. Nobody thinks of James Lindsay when they think of Jeffrey Epstein, but when you say stuff like this, it just seems a little odd to most people who pay attention. He tweeted, whatever role Israeli intelligence had, if any, with the Epstein operations, and there's likely to be a significant role played, the propaganda that will result from its exposure will be incredible, dishonest, and extremely divisive. George Floyd level division will follow. He's like, I mean, there might be a connection there, but if there is, that's not the real story. The real story is going to be like George Floyd level chaos. It's like, you think so? I mean, I don't think so. Hopefully not. The George Floyd riots were insane. I don't want that to happen. I don't think that'll happen. And I just think it's a really weird thing for a news host to say. It's almost like they're trying to get ahead of the story and be like, well, yeah, I mean, like there might be something there, but that's not the real story. The story is the reaction that's going to be had from the people that I say are so hateful. That's the story. This is why a lot of people are turning against James Lindsay and Ben Shapiro. It's not because they woke up one day hateful. I mean, I can't speak for everybody. Some people probably do wake up hateful, and I would say to them, you shouldn't. You should enjoy life, be grateful, and have a nice positive energy to what you're doing. But with Ben, it's like you made this completely bizarre video off of the JFK files, and it's like, people are saying I'm being defensive. I mean, it's like, you kind of are. You kind of are, dude. I don't know. It would be like if I made a video and they're like, Jeffrey Epstein files. Yeah, there's something there. But I mean, it used to be like left wingers cared about Jeffrey Epstein because of the Donald Trump connections. Now the right wing conspiracy nuts are like, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. And I don't really care about it because it's just like I care about the Jeffrey Epstein thing about as much as I care about Marilyn Monroe. I mean, it's just like the past is the past. It's like, that would be a weird video for me or anyone to make. So I feel like the lack of self-awareness is pretty much non-existent for Ben Shapiro. I don't know if he needs acting classes or if he lost his pretend authenticity that he once, was good at pretending. I'm not really sure, but maybe he doesn't have self-awareness because he could just hide behind a certain word that he can accuse other people of if they know that he's being phony. He could just say they're being the word that Trump, RFK, Elise Stefanik, and almost the entire government seems to be policing now. But whatever, let's keep watching.
Really interesting, but I noticed that the calendar says 2025, and he was killed in 1963. And so my opinion about who killed JFK has about as much relevance as who killed William McKinley, or James Garfield, which is to say, not an enormous amount.
So because it happened in the past, he's not that interested, because even though it was a world-shattering event, the United States, especially at the time, hopefully now still, but was the most powerful country in the entire world. In the most powerful free country in the entire world, a popular sitting president was assassinated in public, and it seems like we never really got to the bottom of it. It's a massively world-changing event. It's massive in history, and it's even massive now. We're living in a post-World War II order, in a sense, and that plays a significant role in the shaping of Europe, America. Obviously, some allies switch, some don't, but it would be like somebody being like, yeah, I don't really want to talk about that anymore because it doesn't really matter, which I don't want to put words in Ben's mouth, but I don't think that he doesn't care about World War II. I'm pretty sure he does, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people do. So is he just cherry picking certain events from the past where he's like, that event happened so long ago that it doesn't really matter to me, but there's other events that matter to me that happened then too. It just seems very bizarre. I understand that maybe the JFK assassination isn't as important to him as other events, and I'm not saying it has to be, but to write it off as it just happened, who cares, seems crazy, especially because we're most likely living under the order of what was allowed to happen to JFK. Or with Jeffrey Epstein, people always ask me, why do you care so much about the Jeffrey Epstein files? I feel like it's really important to understand what's going on in American politics. It's so crucial. This guy was a massive influence. What's there not to want to know about that for the sake of our country? And to be fair, it's not just Ben Shapiro getting out ahead of these stories and trying to make it seem like it's a nothing burger. Here's fake opposition. I mean, totally authentic and, trustworthy. Totally not like Fox News. I mean, he's totally different. Steven Crowder, who famously beefed with the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro last year. And I told people what I thought about it, but I never thought that Crowder was some sort of superhero saving the day, even though maybe he was shining the light on some things. I find him, to be honest, maybe a little more interesting than Ben Shapiro, but just as phony. Here's him getting out ahead of the story and being like, yeah, I mean, all these people online are talking about this country, and I mean, I don't get why they're doing it.
Here's another claim. Bombshell. The CIA exclusively requested the elimination of any and all mentions of Israel. Okay, that would be a bombshell. But the truth is that there have been plenty of redactions surrounding other countries. And by the way, there were more redactions as it relates to Israel in previous documents than here. And you see Israel mentioned. Are there some? Sure. But the same can be said for the USSR, for Cuba, for Mexico.
Yeah.
In some instances, they're redacted, and in some they are not. Now, can you say there's something there as far as a redaction? Sure you can. Can you make the claim that the redactions only apply to Israel? And well, we know it's not true because you're literally listing where Israel's mentioned.
I'm not trying to put words in his mouth or side with other people and justify everything they're saying because I'm not quite sure what Crowder's even trying to do here. Did they redact other stuff? I'm sure. But the story is that they're redacting all this stuff. And I understand that some people are always looking for the Israel angle. And then it seems like other hosts are just constantly trying to cover for it. I understand that it creates this battle between the two groups of like, you're trying to point this out and you're trying to cover it up. But once again, I don't get what Crowder's really doing there. He could look into the Jack Ruby situation. He could look into the KGB. He could look into all the redactions or that CIA story that everybody's talking about. I can't speak for other people, but I just want to know what happened. JFK was elected and then he was shot and killed. And that changed the trajectory of the United States. So I would love to see more reports that are accurate rather than these weird PR stunts of like, yeah, why are people looking into that? I mean, it's not just that. Okay, sure, bro. But what are you contributing to the situation? Maybe he's doing more that I'm not aware of. Just wanted to include that in there because I found it interesting. With all that being said, I'm going to be patient and wait until I know what's actually in the JFK files to share certain stuff. In the meantime, I'm laughing at Ben's take because it's so absolutely ridiculous. The guy who smeared Ron Paul when Ron Paul was trying to tell the truth, the guy that was trying to push young people and minorities to get vaccinated, telling them that Joe Biden should tell them that that's how they should get back to normal. The guy that didn't know or pretended he didn't know that Pfizer or the government could possibly be lying. And then trying to trick his audience into being like, it's not my fault as a news host for not telling you guys this. It's the government and Pfizer's fault. If you just believe Pfizer and the government, why don't you just work for Pfizer and the government? I mean, what type of news host is just like, my job is just to read the Pfizer data? Dude, Pfizer has a massive history of corruption. Pfizer's a for-profit company. There's hundreds of angles that are interesting about this, and the least interesting angle is like, I can't believe that the government and Pfizer lied to me. Yeah, that's kind of your fault also. And to make such a massive error at such a massive moment for human history, like the lockdowns and the vaccine rollout, I'm not saying he was wrong about everything, but let's be honest, I did a 20 times better job than him during that. But then within 2 years, he's trying to normalize tricking conservatives into thinking that anybody just asking questions is nefarious and just asking questions is so wrong and the right is conspiracy theorists. Like I said, I just can't fathom who actually buys this stuff. I think that group is getting smaller and smaller. And if you read the top comments on his Instagram section, he's getting ratioed and it seems like a majority of people know he's being phony. We'll see what happens. I enjoyed doing a thorough breakdown of that video because he somehow fit 10 ridiculous things into a short video that deserve to be laughed at. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the new layout. God bless you and have a good week.